Hello, and welcome to Revamped, a rewatch podcast that revisits my top favorite shows and movies. I'm your host, Brandon Alexander, joined by my co-host,
Courtney Autumn.
Venture with us as we set our sights on the infamous Hellmouth to cover 90s cult classic Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Follow along from the beginning, spoiler-free, as Courtney views the show for the first time and I revisit the series for new takes and a fresh perspective on its narrative.
Each season, every episode, in order, we will follow Buffy Summers and her friends to examine their character development, the show's underlying themes, along with its major story arcs, all while engaging in conversations, sharing our own authentic thoughts and feelings to what's unfolding before us.
So sharpen your stakes, load your crossbows, and join us as we explore the supernatural world of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Let's get into the episode. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Revamped. We're here today to cover the very best episode, everyone's favorite, Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 2, Episode 20, Go Fish. Aired May 5th, 1998, written by Ellen Hampton and David Fury, directed by David Simel. Before we fully dive into the episode, I want to welcome our guest, Robbie Fox. Thanks for coming to do Go Fish with us, though.
Pleasure. I'm a big fan.
Okay, for everyone, they're going to want to hear it. Can you say "oh no"?
I know. Oh no! Yeah. Sometimes I don't hear it, but I know what people mean when they talk about the Australian accent. We sound like a bunch of drunks, and we kind of are.
I love it. You're the first, other than this dude that I cut in 2010 when I first started my hair career. They were here playing sports in America, and he came into the mall to get his haircut, and I did it, and I was like, please marry me. I love you so much for accents, everything. But you're the second Australian person I've ever interacted with, besides watching every Nicole Kidman movie ever.
Well, consider yourself lucky. We're a bit correct.
Well, to let everyone know, obviously I'll give you a chance to kind of let us know about yourself, but this is the lovely artistic talents that you see on Instagram under One Draw Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which is a fucking awesome name. I just watched that movie for the first time, the actual movie that it's a play from, a few months ago. But I love your content related to Sarah Michelle Gellar and horror and all things Buffy, obviously, because that's your most prevalent thing is all the Buffy stuff, and yeah. I'm absolutely here for it. All you artists that are out there creating Buffy content, just keep us living, because we never get tired of the content. But if you want to tell our listeners a little bit more in detail about yourself, how you came to be a fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and then why did you choose this fucking episode to do it with us?
Because it's the best episode ever. It's beloved by everyone. It's always at the top of everyone's best ever episode list. I actually think this episode is unfairly hated, to be honest. But we'll get into that. Me, what's interesting about me? Yeah, so I'm Australian. I live in Sydney, and I'm an artist. And the first time I watched Buffy was actually in COVID.
Oh.
What?
Yay. He's kind of a newbie, so that's just
you would
5 years behind.
Oh my God, my mind is blown. I thought you watched it since 2002.
So I'm a huge Sarah Michelle Gellar fan. So when I was a gay tween, her in Cruel Intentions, chef's kiss. Snorting cocaine out of that cross necklace, my mind was blown. I loved her, and then I loved I Know What You Did Last Summer as well, and Scream, all those movies, obviously. But yeah, I never really watched it. I mean, I knew of it, I think, because the kids at school and I used to talk about it a lot and stuff. But I don't think my mum let me watch it. I could watch the X-Files though, so I don't know.
It's right there, neck and neck with it. That's interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, I watched it and I watched the whole thing because obviously we're all trapped in our houses. So I got to watch the whole thing pretty much unbroken. And because I was so bored, I did a Instagram to sort of, I guess, chronicle my watching it for the first time. And that was interesting. Sort of learning about the fandom, and that was quite polarizing. Most people in this fandom are incredible, as you would know. They're so fun to talk to. You meet so many cool people. There's a few crazy people.
The Spuffy lovers. Like, let me stop.
Yeah. Or if you write the slightest bit of criticism about someone like Xander, then you just get this like barrage of like you don't know what you're talking about. And you're like, okay. Amazing. But yes, I love it. It's probably my favorite show, obviously.
What's your favorite season? I would usually ask people that too.
I'm a huge fan of the first 3 seasons. Probably season 2 and 3 are equal for me. I would say if you had a gun to my head, I'd say season 3.
Okay. All right, great.
But I like the high school years the best.
They're the best, honestly, at the end of the day. Because then after that, for me, I always say that like kind of similar nature, 2 and 3 are neck and neck. They're like the same thing. They're one big mergence of everything. I feel like, and it's the conclusive years. We're not in the start anymore. But then like season 5 is always my right in that top 3 for me versus like where your other one would be season 1. You must like all the camp stuff from season 1 and all the
I do. I think season 1's great. I'm a huge season 1 defender. And season 5 is brilliant, but there are episodes in it that really bugged me.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait till we get to the end of the series so we can ask Courtney what her favorite season was out of the show. Our season 7 wrap up. But then I'm going to be like, I meant off the original series because now we're going into the Buffy reboot coverage.
Oh, yeah. That's exciting too.
Yeah, Courtney was like, ooh, 7 seasons, 3-4 years just became 5 years, maybe 6.
You'll never
it's an everlasting commitment. Oh, well, that's cool. I mean, that gives everybody, I'll obviously tag you and everything and let everybody know where they can find you and stuff as well once we get there. But getting into Go Fish, this episode, when members of the Sunnyvale swim team start turning up dead, leaving only their skin behind, our gang must investigate whether monsters are to blame. Xander goes undercover by joining the swim team, while Buffy focuses on protecting the remaining members. As their search unfolds, it becomes clear that the swimmers themselves are transforming into the monsters, and their coach has been up to something fishy. Special guest stars for this episode. I felt like there was a few people in this, and I'll mention one at like random later, but the only one I felt was worth a damn to talk about was Wentworth Miller, who portrays 𝙍𝙬𝙗𝙗 in the episode. And that's mostly because I found him attractive back in the day. Like, I mean, he's still cute, especially like looking back into it whenever he's like in his younger years, because I don't really know what he looks like, 2025. But I never watched Prison Break, so I never got to see any of that because I wasn't into that. I didn't watch any of the other movies that I know he's been in, but I know he's been in a lot of stuff. But this was his first like initial gig getting into acting. He was very green whenever he got on Buffy in general. If he had been on anything, I didn't do my research, didn't care to. But, I was like, I got to mention him other than everybody else because they're all pretty like blah. But for the episode, this is the first one I saw. I didn't know this, written by David Fury. It's also a collaboration that he did with his wife, which I said Ellen's name in the credits because that's what IMDb, the Buffyverse wiki, all that stuff actually like incorporates her into it. And I'm like, well, damn, David Fury didn't take credit. He's like, my wife was a part of this. David writes a handful of Buffy episodes, though, is my point. And I really, really enjoy most of the ones that he writes, but there's a handful of them that I can see where the comments of others, like why it makes sense that those few episodes that people don't like are like lower ranked hits, which is kind of interesting because if you like go on your own and Google David Fury Buffy episodes and go look at the list, and you're gonna be like, like, for somebody that would, not you, Courtney, don't you do that.
No, I won't.
But that being said, Go Fish is his first one that he like gets, and people are just like, and I think they're all written by David Fury. I'm like, oops. Except for like I said, the few that are like pretty cool.
Oh, no.
I thought it was funny too. I got here to my Airbnb and I went to open my notes because I was like, I feel like something's missing from there. I wrote no opening thoughts for this episode, so I guess I didn't want to talk about it. I was like, well, what is there really to say about Go Fish? But I was like, I can't leave them hanging and just let you guys say stuff. So I had to actually sit there for 10 minutes and be like, how do I feel about Go Fish? And then, that turned into 40 minutes of me sitting here in front of the computer, barely typing anything. But what I did come up with, as I prefaced, most Buffy fans know that this one is specifically out of the series that gets a lot of flack. I don't hate the episode, so I'm glad you're kind of on the same fence, Robbie. It's not in my top episodes, obviously, because there's so many more that come before it that's like fucking awesome. But I can get why everybody else kind of maybe has a problem with it, but that's just not my story. I think the biggest thing for me isn't the randomness of it, because we have a Monster of the Week trope pretty much every episode. We see the trope of something random popping up to cause problems. And this one does have interesting monsters. It utilizes all of its characters, and it has a handful of good laughs. Once again, I'm noticing they come from Cordelia, because me and Courtney were dying and killed by death at like everything that was funny in the episode. Cordelia was the light of everything for that one.
Yeah.
And she is in a way this one too. There's obviously some other ones too, but once again, something wild is happening in Sunnydale. And that to me is a recipe for a good enough Buffy episode. So it made me stop for a second. I was like, well, why does this one tank then? What does it for me? And I feel like others have mentioned this too, so I feel I side with placement of the episode. Like the episode coming where it does right before the 2-part finale, and that being arguably one of the biggest and top memorable finales of the series. I think I Only Have Eyes for You should have came before the 2-part finale, and if anything, they should have switched, you know, because this episode would have been great paired beside Killed by Death, or maybe earlier in the season, somewhere maybe around Phases even, like in that little spectrum. That to me is my biggest problem with the episode, is where it comes at in the story. It's really random. It doesn't set up anything for what we get into in the next episodes. It would have been better if it hadn't have came up with such a significant storyline arc right after. Mm-hmm. I also don't agree with critics on it's an unengaging plot, because when I did like research on like why do people hate Go Fish, and you know the 5 minutes extra that I had before we came in here, a lot of people were like, it's unengaging, like I don't get the plot, I don't get the theme and all this other stuff. And I'm like, do you guys not remember the puppet show? Like Sid with that damn knife randomly running around attacking everybody? That was so much more jokey and camp than this episode ever was. This episode is so much more seriousness, so a little speck of character growth and development in it. Like I'll talk about that later, but I'm like, I just don't really get it. But either way, to talk about the things I do like about the episode, the swim team being a focus, I enjoy, because we've really only seen the football, like I would say like what some assembly required with Daryl and stuff. We've seen that as a sport on the show, but we don't really ever see any other sports. I mean, we might later on, who knows? I don't know, but I do. But to see something so mundane and high school oriented is chill. Not that I'm personally into sports or like the theme of that, but like I said, it is befitting for everyone to get their turn in Sunnydale, especially on the Hellmouth, on the school. It happened to the cheerleaders already in Witch, and this time it's like the damn swim team. It's my country's coming out. It's just the damn swim team, and spoiler alert, it's also cool how all of them are getting turned into monsters by their coach. It's like not a crazy mystical force or a big bad. It's a regular old fucking cis white male in America just trying to be the best and doing, you know, everything the complete wrong way, aka making some extremely bad decisions, like killing high school boys to become monsters. But because that's my take on it, we'll talk about that at the very end of the episode. But this situation explicitly reminds me of an earlier season 4 episode that we'll get into later. Robbie, for you, want beer is the only thing I'm gonna say, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. For situation wise, like the thing with the coach is really similar to like what happens in that storyline. So I thought it was interesting watching it back through that I thought about that. Jonathan is back, and I love Jonathan and how he's always randomly placed in the earlier on seasons. He's just like a random person, like in Inca Mummy Girl. He was the person that Ampada took in the back, and like he was the how do I want to put it, like the prisoner, or like whatever, like the cop lady in What's My Line, whenever she like uses him as like her defensive shield for, you know, he's just randomly like Jonathan's always at the wrong place in the wrong time is my point. But he's never like, he doesn't have a big storyline. He's just this random side character in the school somewhere, but we keep getting the revisitation of him. And this one we get the most because of like the scene that comes with Willow later on, which I think is everything, because I love Willow interrogating him. It's so funny. Other things, we get an unhealthy dose of Snyder again that I noticed, and I was like, they're really trying to pack him in, because we were talking about it a couple episodes ago, or maybe last episode, because we saw him. He wasn't in from What's My Line all the way to like Killed by Death. He wasn't in any of those episodes. So they're trying to make us remember that Snyder is a part of the show for like what's to come in the future. Especially so far off. We'll see tomorrow. I can't say too much. I'm like, I wish Courtney had already seen the finale with us when we're watching this or talking about this. And then my like last thing I feel like I have is we have Xander joining the swim team on his own accord and actually making the team. I felt that was just as impressive, and it like was as much impressive to me as it was Cordelia. And I like wrote in my notes, I was like, good for him, because he's always trying to help out and do what he can. And this time he chose to join the swim team, get on it, so that way he could be like the inside scoop guy, like annoy everybody in the freaking sauna room, all that shit. But I thought it was good for Xander. That's like the good Xander moments and stuff that comes out of this, you know. So everybody, once again, you know, hope your hands in your pants for the Xander comments that I'm making, because it's not negative for once. All those elements, though, I think I like a lot. What I don't really like, other than the fact that we get to see it, is how it deals with all the stuff that Buffy gets from the men in the episode. She just gets like the label of, oh, you're a girl, you're enticing them, and you're a troublemaker, so it must be your fault. Like all of those elements, especially the last one. I'm tired of that trope of Buffy and just like, especially in Snyder's eyes, being the bad girl that's like, oh, Buffy's to blame then. Like, let's put Buffy under the bus. But like all the other stuff that comes, I'm like, I just want to go into the screen and give her a hug and be like, girl, it's okay. Like these guys are totally hating on you right now. And it's the real flack that women face in the world. So I'm glad it's presented in the episode. But like, more than anything, I also want to hop through the screen while I'm giving her that hug and help her shove boys' faces into the steering wheels, because they all deserve to get their chauvinistic asses kicked, because it's really pretty cringy. But I think it frustrates me that there's no resolve to the issue in the episode. You get that thrown out you, and you're like, girls can go, oh, I relate to that. But they're like, well, how do I overcome something like that? Besides, push their head in the steering wheel and get in trouble, So I don't know. Aside from that, the satisfaction of the coach's demise, we'll call it a literal up yours, is the only thing that I think resolved the issue. To throw that out there, I forgot to like say that part. I think that's the only resolve that we get, is what happens to the coach. So either way, I'll say more as we walk through the episode, but I'm going to let you guys go into your thoughts on Go Fish.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously pretty much on the same page. I did find the placement random for where we're at in the season kind of thing. So I think going into it, I anticipated a lot more like, I don't know, something evolving with the main plot line, or not so much of like a distracting filler episode or something that just like removes us from the storyline completely. I figured, or I was hopeful anyway, that the episode would at least highlight some stuff that we've already been dealing with leading up to the end now. But outside of the random placement, it was not enjoyable. I enjoyed it. Like you, it's not like on my top list of anything or anything like that, but it would have definitely made more sense if it was earlier on in the season. And I think that within itself would have made it like a little bit more enjoyable, because I was just searching for like, where is the storyline? What's happening in the greater scheme of things, So it was entertaining and it was good for what it was, but I definitely missed what we've kind of been presently dealing with in the season. But it was a good filler episode nonetheless. Like, I was entertained, and it was the theme that I just really didn't see coming. I mean, I said that, in the Slayerette predictions, but at the same time, it wasn't like to this degree. So it was a very good surprise in an entertaining way, but it definitely would have made more sense like 4 episodes ago or something. So yeah.
I didn't even think about that, with the fact too that it also comes after Passion. Like, we've dealt with all that, and like, I don't know, they just throw random episodes.
It was so random, yeah.
Like, I don't know.
It was like they wanted an extra episode in the season or something, so they were like, "We'll just put it here," and like they just like threw a dart at the board, and they're like, "There it goes, we'll put it there." That's like how random it seems.
You'll feel more into that whenever you watch the finale tomorrow, and then we recycle this information, because I'm gonna bring it back up, and you're gonna be like, "Yeah, what the fuck."
Robbie, what did you think of the episode?
I'm spacing out. I agree with the both of you. I think it's a filler episode, but it's not an unenjoyable one. I like thematically that there's that sort of subculture in high schools where we kind of lift sport boys up, so to speak, and they can kind of get away with anything. And that is kind of told to us through how Buffy is given the blame for their bad behavior. I do like that. I don't think they really delve too deep into it, but it's an interesting sort of theme in the episode. And I was just thinking, to your point, they don't really resolve it, but I guess because that's the experience of girls in high school, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, there is no resolve. Like, they just, it's that old, like, what were you wearing kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, the episode's not that deep either to kind of draw too much meaningful stuff out of it. But I do think that's sort of an interesting part of it. And I think the monsters are kind of fun and silly and goofy. And I love when we get to meet random kind of side characters in the school, like the nurse and the actual swim coach.
Yeah.
And, like, that's always fun and amusing to me, because you're kind of like, what has this nurse been doing in this school this whole time? And then you kind of think about
not mending.
I mean, think about some of the stuff some of these students would have gone to that nurse for. Like, oh, someone just tried.
I'm like, wait, how haven't we seen her?
Like,
Yeah.
So many weird injuries at Sunnydale High. Yeah, I enjoy it. I think it's good. I love that Buffy pulls a chopstick out of her hair to stake Angel at one point. That's just funny.
Yes. She was so hot in that moment. We're going to talk about it more in detail later. But, oh
of
my
course,
God.
the smashing of the nose on the steering wheel was like chef's kiss. But sometimes when I watch Buffy, I do kind of wish that, like, sometimes you want to shake some of the characters and just be like, oh, like, you feel so strongly about the characters in the show that you sort of have a reaction to, like, I hate Snyder. Like, he makes my blood boil. And I know that's the point of the character, but you really do want to shake him sometimes because you're kind of like, you need to stop blaming Buffy for bloody everything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I like the episode.
Good. We're like the people that do. Everybody else that listens to it, they're like, what the fuck are they talking about? I don't know. There's like it's like I always said, and I said it in the very beginning of the show. Like, if I'm watching the show through, I'm watching every episode. There's not an episode I'm gonna skip. So it's sad that people put this in that barrel of episodes and then talk so much smack on it and just like get right up under that umbrella. But that's their opinion. It's fair. So if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. This isn't my favorite episode either, but at the same time, it is what it is. So I got it.
Think that
it's part of the story.
I do feel like if it aired before, I need to think, before Jenny, before Passion, I feel like people wouldn't hate it as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
But I'm kind of glad it did. Well, no, maybe not after Jenny. Like, because I was like, well, if it didn't air then I guess, like I said, it would have had to been around phases. Because I definitely want it to be after Surprise and Innocence. Because I like that scene that we get with, like you said, the chopstick.
Yeah.
Like the fact that Angelus is here. Whenever that happens, we would never get that interaction. The comments and the kind of leading Buffy putting the breadcrumbs together and the puzzle pieces, the connecting the dots, all that, to being like, well, why was he spitting out the blood? You know what I mean? Like, we wouldn't have had that extra element because you wouldn't have just seen that from some average vampire. Possibly could have, but I don't know. There's a lot that I don't know. We could sit here and deliberate all day and tomorrow. But any other comments or anything like that?
Mm-mm.
The skin looked tasty.
Wow. It looked what? Tasty? Is that what you said? Their skin looked tasty?
I'm joking, obviously. Like,
I mean, if you really are into seafood, I'm not gonna hate it. You are from down under, so like, do they eat fish monster there?
It's the best part.
I mean, it is on chicken. I don't know about fish. I do like some fried catfish skin though.
Well,
and salmon skin if it's cooked.
I did write in one of my posts for one of my art things a whole ad for Go Fish about what the government does with the leftover skin, how they turn it into food.
What the fuck?
I know.
Everybody
I didn't explain
right now to
it
Robbie's page.
It will make sense when I post.
I'll go find it whenever we release this episode, and I'll share it on the story so people can like go watch or like view the actual like thing and read into it. Oh my god,
that's really funny.
All right, well, what do you guys say we walk through this episode scene by scene and talk about it?
Let's do it.
All right, I have a special note. This is the very last time that we hear the opening Slayer prologue, now deemed as the Giles Slayer prologue, as I've called it the whole time. But this is the last time it's ever heard. Obviously, we've heard it a few times like recently, but they've been getting really big on there previously on Buffy the Vampire Slayer because there is so much happening in the show. But I have to say it because it's RIP and I won't be putting it at the beginning of episodes anymore. I was trying to keep up with them. It's gone. But also, I'm kind of happy about it because that thing is low-key kind of cringe. Like, it's okay in the first season, but they should have left it behind after the first season.
Although Giles' voice is sexy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was so much better after that, like, WB, like, whatever his little
whoever
voice acted.
That
shit, the crunchy.
No, I wanted
to
you
every
to do
generation
it.
there is a chosen one. She alone will stand against.
You know, that kind of
Just shit. Smoked 80 packets of cigarettes and did my voice over.
Camel Crush. All right, let's hop into Go Fish.
In every generation there is a chosen one. She alone will stand against the vampires, the demons, and the forces of darkness. She is the Slayer.
We open on a victory party on the beach for the swim team at night as the song Man's Chinese plays by Naked. We pan across to find Cordy, Xander, and Willow standing by a fire. Xander complaining about how his nips are finding it nippy out there, and he is not pleased with this decision of having the victory party at this location. I'm on Willow's side about a party in nature. Besides, it was team's choice, and of course the swim team going to choose something water related, but like, why is Xander complaining about the fire? Like, he's standing in front of a fire, so why are you complaining about the cold? It's Southern California. It's warm there all the time. Why are you like, my nips are frozen? You're over here in a jacket and you got your nipples. Well, I don't think he's wearing a jacket. I think he's got like a pullover or something on, but whatever. I'm like, boy, shut your bitching up. Like, jump in the fire. Like, you'll be fine. But I ain't never been cold in front of a fire. I'm just saying. Maybe he's cold natured. I don't know. I also paused here on my notes too to like, I love when Willow has her double braids in her hair, so I'm going to call that a Willow fashion moment for me because I think she looks adorable. Cordy is awarding the fact that the cheer squad has finally cheered for a winning team since all the other sports-related events seem to be a waste of their time for losers. We leave them to drift over to Buffy, who is sitting alone by the water watching its calmness. A student we find named Cameron approaches her to call it beautiful, describing it also as eternal and some other shit that I'll clip in here.
Just so
eternal. Her true mother giving birth to new life and devouring old. Always adaptable, nurturing, yet constant, merciless.
boy, I was just gonna go with big and wet.
He pops a squat next to her, talking about how their team train here in the sea. Buffy shifting the focus back to him and the team winning semifinals, asking what he is going to do next. He's going to hang out with and get to know Buffy Summers. And I literally puked in my mouth a little bit because she wouldn't give that guy the time of day at the beginning of last episode. She was like, oh, I can't go to the dance with you. But this guy, she's kind of like a little bit interested. So I'm like, are you taking Willow's impulse advice from last episode now all of a sudden? So I don't really know. He drops no pressure and he just enjoys being around her. At that time, we hear Jonathan start crying out for help as Buffy takes notice to some other teammates dunking his head in the ice water drink tank forcefully like he's bobbing for apples, picking at him about like, you know, you got to hold your breath longer if you're going to be on the swim team, Jonathan. And I'm like, poor fucking Jonathan. And she rushes over there and helps him by jacking up the shark tattoo boy, which I never once in my whole 25 years of watching this show noticed his name was Dodd. I was like, okay, so he had an actual name. I just figured he was like swim team number 2. You know what I mean? Like, or swim team member number 2. I didn't know he had an actual name. Yeah. So I called him Shark Tat Boy the whole time, like I was growing up. So that's what I put in my notes. But she throws him aside and he's about to pop off on Buffy when his teammate pulls him also aside. And he's like, no, let's go take a dip in the ocean. Buffy checking to see if Jonathan is okay. And he's getting mad at her like Xander did on Halloween, scoffing about how he didn't need her help. Why the fuck you screaming out somebody help me? Like, why are you hollering for help? And then the second someone comes to help you, because it's Buffy, I would be so happy to be saved by her. I'd be like, oh my God, this bitch obviously has a reputation. Like, but like, I don't know. And I think it's, even for somebody like Jonathan, he's still a male and he still doesn't want to be saved by a girl, possibly, because it doesn't carry the same exact energy that we got whenever Larry jacked Xander up against the snack machine in Halloween. He's asking for help where Xander didn't ask for help. So like, whose toes is Buffy stepping on and why is he arguing about it? Over with the swim teammates, they are bitching about Buffy and how she gives them the creeps. Tat Boy stopping as if he senses something weird and has seen something. He just stares at the ocean and walks toward it. The other we later come to know as Gage stopping, having smelt something foul, asking, what the fuck is that stench? Looking around to notice Dodd has disappeared. Oh well, he walks off towards his other mates when we hear some guttural sounds and Dodd wailing out, finding his steaming pile of flesh left on the beach and a monster walking into a nearby tunnel access. Cue the Buffy theme.
Imagine being the production assistant and getting a note. We need someone to make a pile of skin. You'd just be like, okay.
That's like probably the easiest thing, but they also had to make it look like his skin and put that damn tattoo on it. So, which was easy. They just stick and paste it because obviously that's not his real tattoo. Just immediately though, and obviously I know we'll talk about it as we start to unfold more in the episode, but this is that moment where I always have to ask Courtney, like, what the fuck was going through your head when you saw the flesh? And you're like, oh hell, like, did you think the monster ate him and went into the tunnel? Yeah. Did you assume that they had like what actually was going on? Or
I think when they initially just like panned to the skin there, I was like, well, that was fast, you know, like, holy shit, you know, and I thought like, I don't know, something done just like sucked his whole skeleton out of his body. And I was like, that's all there could be. But then when they showed something kind of like, you know, the silhouette of something at the end of the tunnel kind of walking off weird, and it obviously was like maybe human, maybe not, you know, it was enough to speculate. So I think that's when like I started connecting the dots that potentially it was a skin shedding situation and not like a human eating situation. But I was still very unclear as to what the fuck was happening. Obviously, like I had no idea what that was. Basically.
Yeah. You always do that really well though. Like whenever you watch the episodes, you tend to like actually kind of have an insight to what possibly is going on versus like me growing up. I can see how you would initially think that a monster ate him and then was
100%.
walking back into the tunnels after sucking his skeleton out, slurping up his blood and all that other stuff. Because you would just assume, oh God, there's a monster on the beach somewhere. This whole episode is going to take place at the beach or deal with water in some way. Like we don't know what's going to be at the school with the swim team, all that kind of stuff. So it's a nice mislead in the beginning before we actually get the story later, which helps to tell the story, I feel like, better whenever you get the unveiling with Gage way later on in the episode. So it's a cool little thing. The next school day, we find Willow still in teacher position of Jenny's computer class, overseeing everyone's great work on their pie charts, except Gage, of course, who she finds playing solitaire instead of doing his work with naked ladies on the cards at that. How inappropriate. The bell rings and dismisses everyone. Snyder coming in to congrats Gage on his way out on his recent victory for the swim team, but he is not totally there to see Gage. He's there to talk to Rosenberg, because like I wasn't, he doesn't even like say Willow, he's like Rosenberg. I'm like, what the fuck? Wondering how the class teaching is going, aka if it's in order. Poor Willow starting to tell him on opposite day, but he just cuts her off quick to say, all right, great. Anyways, to the point, he goes into asking her if she is able to keep subbing the rest of the year since the board hasn't found a replacement teacher yet for Jenny. Willow likes teaching, so she is giddy to continue to do as such. She's a team player, and if that's the case, she would want everyone to succeed like Gage, whom Snyder now mentions that he wants her to forge his test score so that he can continue to help with the state championship, aka not get kicked off the team due to bad grades. And Snyder sniding that he needs to be seeing the D rather than the F. And when I put that in my notes, I was like, he's got to see the D rather than the P. And I was like, that's not going to make sense, but it's an easy A reference. So I had to explain it for everyone. But that's all I heard, because I was like, he wants to see the D or the P, the F. Out in the halls later, Willow has told Xander and Cordy about Snyder's perfectly clear but not spoken instructions of grade changes for Gage. And Xander is pissed because this is blatant disrespect for all of those who worked really hard to actually earn their Ds, aka him, and also aka me, because I took offense to that and I was totally a CD student whenever I was in school. I ain't never made an A until I got to college. Cordy reminding us all of the statement that unfortunately still rings true to this day.
But the truth is, certain people are entitled to special privileges. They're called winners. That's the way the world works.
And what about that nutty all men are created equal thing?
Propaganda is spouted out by the ugly and less deserving.
I think
this combo ending with Xander telling them how it really grates his cheese that Buffy's not there to share the moral outrage of swim team perks because she's too busy being one of them. That was a cool moment, though, for Cordelia to make the comment that she did, because of the fact, like we said, this episode's kind of aware of the problem that women and just like society goes through, and how the men's like stature is always put into the front line before everything. So the fact that once again somebody as blunt and tactless as Cordelia calling this out. But cutscene transition magic to Buffy arriving to school with Cameron in his car, who is boring the fuck out of her, still yapping about his hard-on for the ocean. I'm like, how long does he sit there and talk about that? And I love how she immediately just like hates on him for it. She cuts him off saying that she's forgotten how great it is to just talk with someone, or in her case, listen without romantic pressure. It's so funny. Like, or in my case, listen. Do you see in moments like that, Courtney, how I get my natural sarcasm that I get in moments like this where I call myself right back out, be like, aka me, like to make it apparent. It's not indirect, it's very direct. Cameron saying he's all about non-pressure and her comfiness on opposite forever, as he cuts her off to ask if she's wearing a bra, and that makes her uncomfortable. Buffy moves to get out of the car, which he locks the door, trapping her inside, telling her to relax. He's not going to hurt her.
Oh, it's not me I'm worried about.
She must like it rough, he suggests, extending an arm out to touch her. Her twisting it, yanking his head back and smashing it into the steering wheel, him crying out, holding his face about how he thinks she broke his nose. And the most unfortunate of cases happens, because fucking Snyder walks right up and he's like wagging his finger like, come on, bitch. Like, I'm like, like, where was he 2 seconds ago? How are you out here in the student parking lot at this exact time? I swear he's like a hound dog sniffing out Buffy 24/7. He knows where she is and on cue at all times.
100%.
Sucks for her. But also, I know we've already said it, but I love that fucking moment because you always see the girl get attacked and usually their pursuer like overcomes them in some way, or a girl's not able to fight back. So this is that iconic like girl goes into the dark alley, is attacked by something and then fights back. And I like this because most girls try to fight back and then they obviously don't like get the outcome that they want from it. So the fact that Buffy does it, the only unfortunate outcome is that she got caught by Snyder doing it, but still cool that it's in the episode. In the nurse's room, he's getting ice packed to a seriously bruised and cut nose as Buffy tries to tell Snyder that she was attacked, not the attacker. And of course, Snyder is not on her side. Neither is Cam, who is avoiding the fact that she totally didn't lead him on. You're killing me, Robbie.
He's like
playing the episode.
Bursting at the seams.
I just want Buffy to hit Snyder with a soda machine.
I'll just pick it up and like yoink it at his ass.
Yeah, like have a shot of him like walking away, and then she's like snide, and then the soda machine just smashes him.
That's that moment when he's like, I just want to hop on the screen and shake this motherfucker. He wants to shake him down with a damn soda machine. Apparently neither is Cam, who is avoiding the fact that she totally didn't lead him on and excusing his behavior like all men due to the way Buffy's dressing and her female seduction.
Yes.
Coach Marin comes in to check on his now best swimmer, Cam, after what happened to Dodd. Buffy wondering what that is exactly, and Snyder telling her it's like none of your business. I was like so quick to silence her because she's just trying to figure out. She's like, wait, what happened to Dodd? Nobody wants to talk about Dodd for 2 seconds and be like, oh, he's missing or his remains were found. Like everybody's like, don't worry about that. Anyways, about the championship. Like, what? The coach asked the nurse, who we found her name is like Nurse Ruthie, to take care of his boy and for Buffy to dress more appropriate. That bitch too in the background. She's like, I always do. And I'm like, do you though? Because Robbie made a really good point about like, we never seen you before in the school ever. And I know people die all the time and you can't really help that. But can you imagine, like you said, all the other instances that she's getting people in her office like... Last episode, Xander goes to the fucking thing and be like, yeah, I got cuts on my chest because a fucking ghost storm pulled me into my locker. Like, she'd be like, wait, what?
Also, Buffy's outfit, it's not provocative. Not that it would matter, even if it was, but like, it's not, it's just a normal outfit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like how you bring that up. It's nothing that she wears in this. And Buffy season 1 has wore mini skirts and heels out to even the beginning of the season to go slay. But you're also out on your own time. You're not at school. And our school had a dress code, so you couldn't wear spaghetti straps. Half the stuff that you see on these people at school, clearly California does not have those types of like they disregard all of that for them. But like us, you couldn't have like what is a dollar bill higher like shorts above your knee or something like that, or like 4 inches above the knee. If it was higher than that, then you couldn't wear it, or shorter than that, you couldn't wear it. So I'm like, Buffy is like fine. Her chest is covered. There's no cleavage. Like her collarbones are out, but I guess that's just like, ooh, it's like a woman's ankle in 1762. Like, I don't know. In the library, Buffy is ranting to Giles, Willow, and Xander about the whole ordeal.
So I'm treated like the baddie just because he has a sprained wrist and a bloody nose. And I don't have a scratch on me, which granted hurts my case a little on the surface, but meanwhile, he gets away with it because he's on the Aren't We the Most swim team, who, by the way, if no one's noticed, have been acting like real jerks lately.
Catching herself that she's on a tangent and they are clearly in research mode. Giles informing her that the remains were found on the beach. Thank God somebody actually cares. In the form of Dodd. No vampires here. No boating accident. Just good old evisceration. Buffy questioning, so something just ripped him open and ate his insides out. No, Willow, not like an Oreo cookie, because this bitch is like an Oreo.
Well, except for, without the chocolatey cookie goodness.
And I'm like, Willow. so innocent but so inappropriate to like bring this up at this time. But also I went and bought Oreos that night again because the second time Oreos been brought up on the show, and both times I went and got Oreos later that day because it was a craving. Either way, they're looking for a beastie that eats skin, because I agree with you, Xander, it's the best part. And also Robbie, because he said that earlier and I forgot that Xander said it and you were making a clever pun for the episode. It's the best.
I don't know if it's definitely making a pun.
Well, the pun is punning, because I wrote in my notes, I was like, before I prefaced earlier, I was like, well, I like fried chicken skin. And then I wrote my notes later on when I originally did the episode, I was like, fried chicken, not fried dog. And it's more steamed, like it's not fried. So I'm like,
yeah. Yeah. And you can almost like smell it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, sometimes when you watch something and it's gross and you feel like you have like a visceral kind of reaction to it. Yeah. It's gross.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, dog like definitely had something visceral happen. No, you really can though. It's wet too and all that other stuff. The fact that it was steaming though, like that's crazy. Like you got to think like how they burst out of there. Like what makes their flesh steam right thereafter? Is it the cooling effect of like the warmth of their skin that's left behind in normal room temperature that's causing that effect, or is it like what went inside chemically to make that happen? Because they're a wet creature, so why would there be steam coming off their remains? I don't need to know the answer. I'm just curious in this moment. And now I'm over it. We cut over to the locker room, steam room, where Cameron is found steaming like the fucking piles of flesh we're just talking about. Something obviously creeping in the locker room, seen through a POV shot. He hears a noise and we are misdirected when we find Coach coming in to tell him to hit the showers. And I think this is fun because this is the first little foreshadow that something's going on with the coach and going on with the steam room. But you would never think about it if you just stopped the episode right now or like just did not pay attention. In the halls later that evening, Xander's on the way to the snack machine so that way he can throw it at Snyder and bumps into a freshly showered and dressed Cameron, calling Xander a loser, and Xander retorting back that he likes his nose job. And I love that comment because he's like, what did he say about Buffy? I don't think I wrote it down. Oh, he's like, I love it when you guys mess with her. Like really poking and prodding at him. He's like, you got your ass kicked by my friend and you know that she's my friend. So it's really funny for that. Xander would be getting jacked up, but thankfully Cam is hungry and off to the not so closed cafeteria for him to grab some food. Like how he has an all access pass. He's like, not to me. And I'm like, bro, like, what are you going in there to eat? Like, and there might be something cold, like some leftover fruit salad or like something that they made that was like good at, but like the spaghetti and stuff, like they got a microwave you about to cook on the stove or something. I don't know. I want to see what happened if he had actually made it there and not died 2 seconds later.
He's going to eat one of the snakes left over from last week.
The hot dog spaghetti snake. When he makes it there, he takes notice to that foul stench and us over with Xander at the machine as he hears Cam scream in the cafeteria and he rushes over to it. Inside, finding knocked over tables, aka signs of a strug. Also finding Cam's pile of steaming flesh on the ground, freaked out, turning to leave, coming face to face with a monstrous creature and yelling. And this is obviously the first time we get to see the monster. And I think the monster looks really cool. Like the costuming, like the web fingers, the fin-like head, like he's got that catfish kind of like esque shit hanging off its lips, like down on the sides. You know, you've drawn it. The teeth also, like the fact that they probably had to wear like dentures and stuff. Like they just did the creature really cool, and the fact that it's a water. It's not like the same as like the Loch Ness monster or like the classic. Like he kind of looks like a play on. Did you ever see like the original Scooby-Doo Where Are You like series from back in the day? They had the one episode with the actual like fish creature that looks like the monster from the Blue Lagoon, and I know they make comments about it later. Like that. It's in the horror monster. I mean, I might just be called Swamp Monster, but it's like up there with Frankenstein and the werewolf monster from classic horror tales. So now we're kind of getting this play on it as a classic horror trope, just like we've gotten vampires and werewolves and stuff from other episodes. Ghosts, you know, all that type of stuff. Like Giles said, the Hellmouth really does have everything. And Buffy finds it all. But I wanted to make a comment on the thing because I thought it looked cool. But what did you think whenever you saw the monster like face to face, like up front and not just walking into a tunnel?
Well, initially I laughed because I was just like, what the fuck is
this? You're like, it looks like
But I was glad that it was obvious enough that it was like a fish situation, because if I wasn't paying attention or like looking for the theme of like not just the title of the episode, but obviously now I'm understanding that like the whole swim team popping back into play and in the forefront of things is like a concept. So obviously there's lots of like water and swimming and all this shit surrounding this whole situation. So after I got over the funniness of how the creature looks, I was just kind of like, okay, now I can start piecing things together. So I was kind of glad that it was really obvious, because for a second there I was like, what is this even supposed to be? You know, because we're not in the water. I don't know. It was just like my head was kind of confused for a second, because when I'm searching for the title of the episode, my whole thing was like, we're going to be near the ocean or in the lake or on a river or something, you know, and that's where all this activity is going to be. So to be like here where we are and this thing is like just standing there, I'm like, okay, what is happening? Like, why?
If you had a
why
came
is
face
this happening? You know,
if you had a came face to face with the thing, would you have laughed or would you have freaked the fuck out? Because you said your first reaction was laughing at it.
I don't know. I mean,
I'm over here
obviously
hyping
it's,
it
like,
up, talking about it
in
looks so
my
cool, and Courtney's like, I
face.
laughed at it.
I don't know, because I feel like my initial reaction would still be laughter, and it would almost be like I'd be questioning like who's behind that. I'd be like, who? I'd be like, Brandon, take that off.
Okay, I know I talked about Scooby-Doo, but clearly this is not happening on the Hellmouth. You're like, Mr. Jenkins, it's you. Take that off. Snyder, why you got that mask on? Oh my god, that's funny as fuck. Do you like the creature or do you laugh at it, Robbie?
I like it. I mean, like you were saying, it's sort of a homage to the creature from the Black Lagoon and all that kind of stuff. It's fine. I've seen one. And we will see a worse fish later on.
Will we?
You will think shark.
Okay, yes. Or worse is the best thing. I also like that you like re-triggered in my life the word homage, because that was what I was trying to go for when I initially described that, and I couldn't get the word to come out. That's what I meant.
It's interesting.
I should have channeled Anthony Hopkins.
Sometimes the monster designs are like so good, and you're kind of like, how did they do this on like network television? And then sometimes you're like, oh yeah, this is network television.
Yeah, exactly.
They got the 1K per sleigh budget.
They make their budgets go a long way though. I'd say 80% of the time they nail it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, honestly, like I like it. And I'm a sucker. Like I'm in that pool of people that like they do good work with CGI nowadays, but I'm a sucker for practical effects.
Yeah,
I love like costuming and all that type of stuff. When I went to beauty school, that was a big part of my cosmetology career, was doing like makeup artistry and stuff. And I love doing like Halloween effects on people. Everybody in my town, I wouldn't say everybody because not everybody, but everybody that knew me, they were always like, Brandon, can you do my makeup for this Halloween party? Can you do this, that, and the other? And I was like, fuck yeah, I'll do that. So I've done everything from the fucking classic little Southern Belle, like I want to look like a deer with like, you know, little fucking doughy shit all over my face, all the way down to like a zombie with a fucking half jaw hanging off. So like it's a spectrum. So I have appreciation for it.
Yeah.
Back in the library, Xander's talking about how the monster went through the window quick and isn't sure if the picture Cordy's been sketching up of the description that he's giving is accurate due to the fact that he was so shocked, aka what Cordelia would call him running like a woman. I love it. She's like, I'm your girlfriend, but I'm still going to fuck with you. She's like, admit it, you ran like a woman. He's like, fuck you. Buffy and Willow coming in with the knowledge of Dodd and Cam were first and second best swimmers on the team, thinking that this is a pattern and next on the menu could be the third best swimmer, Gage. Cordelia finds this to be sad, not the death of two boys, but the fact that they are never going to win the state championship. And I'm like, Cordelia's right here with Snyder and that damn coach in the damn room trying to steer the conversation about everything it's supposed to be and putting it right back in the limelight type stuff. Like, how can I get my attention? I'm like, oh my God. Afraid that she's lost all will to cheerlead too. She's like, I've lost all will to cheerlead. Oh my God. Raise your hand if you feel her pain, because I'm not going to. I'm not asking you guys to, but everybody in the audience out there listening, like the gang ponder that perhaps someone raised their monster from whence it came to take out the swim team.
From whence it came? Spending way too much time around you.
Spending too much time around Giles. They also ponder who would hate the team that much to do as such besides Xander. Willow suggesting Pericus asked Jonathan, since they were teasing him the other night. Buffy telling her that she should question him. Willow assuring she will crack him like an egg. I was like a bad egg? We already know how Jonathan reacts to those, so we don't need to have that. Like a whole issue. Giles being suggestive himself to Buffy that she should keep a watchful, protective eye on Gage in the meantime, discreetly, of course. Xander needs a task, though. Cordy thinks it should be going out into the parking lot and practicing running like a man. That shit's so funny, because like the fact that she just comes right back in with that, she's still on that shit. Cordelia can't ever let something go. And the fact that Xander's like reaction right after he like holds himself, he's like, hey, like, I like that. Because usually he's got some kind of retort to say something back to somebody, but this time he's like shut down by it, and he's like, fuck, like I have no comeback for that. And usually he's the first one to say some, like he's that person that's like, I have to have the last word, and he doesn't get that with Cordelia, because Cordelia is the one that's gonna get the last word. So
I also feel like Cordelia doesn't care what he says, so like it wouldn't matter anyway.
Mm-mm. She don't care what anybody says. Literally. If it didn't pass her lips, she don't give a fuck. The next day, we see Buffy watching Gage in the school lounge, completely failing at discretion because he is already onto her antics. We then flash over to Willow, having caught up with Jonathan and brought him into her classroom alone to question him. And I love how she's utilizing her classroom. She's like, this is my class. I know no one's going to come in here. Let's go in here. She turns that desk lamp onto and then faces it at him. I was fucking dying because I'd forgotten about the scene. I knew she did this interrogation because there's a fun little like callback later and like breadcrumb in that way. But like this isn't the one instance we see some energy like this. But just the fact that she goes on full interrogation, she's like, this isn't a classroom. And she's like beams that fucking little small lamp at him. And I'm like, Willow, like she's doing the most, but I love it because Willow's just being extra. She's like, this is my time to shine, so I'm going to do it. She's channeling Detective Vaughn for sure. That's a guy that tried to arrest me one time. Apparently he's tried out for the swim team 2 times and not made it. He blames it on his asthma to why he couldn't keep up, and Willow suggests he resented not getting on the team and maybe he wanted revenge. And at this point, like I said, I'm dying laughing because like Willow's like, didn't you? And I'm like, oh fuck. I was like, I kind of don't want to take the heat from her either. Like I don't know if I'm laughing or if I'm feel scared. Like I'm like, what do you know? You know. And she gets all up in his face too while he's sitting in the chair, and I'm just like, calm down, you little redhead bitch. Like what the fuck.
She's enjoying it. Like
she's got to, like I said, she's got to suck up the moment. This works, and Jonathan cracks like a bad egg and stresses, yes, fine, okay, I did. Willow proud to offer what she thinks he did.
So, you delved into the black arts and conjured up a hell beast from the ocean's depths to wreak your vengeance. Didn't you?
He's like,
what? No. I snuck in yesterday and peed in the pool.
Ew.
Here we are getting once again misled in the episode. We're thinking that Jonathan might have something to do with raising these monsters. Like, how could Jonathan ever raise demons and put them out in the world? Like, it just doesn't sound like a Jonathan thing. But at the same time, he is like, no, I actually just went and pissed in the pool because that's the best I could do to get back at these people while I'm 17. So funny. But also, like, I'm like, that, I think I mentioned it later, so I might be like, coming in early with this, but while we're on the topic of peeing in the pool, it's chlorinated. So like anytime one person singularly pees in it, it's meant for that. Like it's going to stabilize and cleanse itself. So you didn't do anything except be like, haha, I did put my urine in that pool. It's not going to like get in your skin or in your hair and make you smell like my pee, but it's the fact that you're swimming in my piss, I guess, is the overall point. But I'm just like, did you really do anything though? Like, because only you know about that, and it's for you to get your haha, like I'm chuckling because I peed in the pool. Like you weren't going to tell anybody until Willow forced it out of you. So I don't know. Elsewhere in the school, Coach and Snyder are walking around speaking on this tragedy and how it will upset the other guys whom they are not mentioning because it would distract them from winning the championship, which Snyder is all about. And Snyder not knowing Dodd's name in that moment too, because he's like, Cameron and that other one. Like, I'm like, you don't even know Dodd's name. You were saying his name in the fucking nurse's room earlier, and now he's talking about that other one. It just shows that these people don't give a fuck about these students. Like, they're dead and they're like, whatever. But they're still, once again, for the 3rd time this episode, really worried about winning this championship.
Yeah.
Because Sunnydale needs to be put on the map. They don't. They need to be taken off the map. Coach saying he's down 2 team members as it is, and how they better find someone by this afternoon's tryout so they can compete. Snyder assuring he will find someone, showing us Xander was sitting nearby having overheard their conversation. That night at the Bronze, we find Buffy still stalking Gage, playing pool, who still knows that she's watching him. This poor bitch in this whole scene too. Like, he's watching her the whole time, and she's like, it's just so bad. It's so bad.
Incognito Buffy is the best.
It's the worst, but it's the best because it's funny for us, but bad for her. He moves over to confront her, and like he's like, this whole be my shadow act is getting old, wondering what she wants from him. Buffy, being the worst at undercover, claims that she's a swim groupie, and Gage is unsure as Buffy adds,
Oh, yeah. You know, there's just something about the smell of chlorine on a guy. Oh, baby. Okay. Obviously, my sex appeal is on the fritz today, so I'll just give it to you straight. There's something lurking out there, and it's making fillets of the populace, and I think you might be next.
And she's decided to drop the act and tell him about the monster issue and how it's already attacked and killed people. Gage doesn't believe her, with Cam having told him about Buffy's negative vibes that be flowing, telling her to leave him alone and find another person to harass. We pan outside the Bronze as Gage leaves, scoffing under his breath about that psycho bitch. Just as Angelus steps out of the shadows to offer, he must be talking about Buffy. We gotta have Angel in the episode somewhere. This is like another one of the moments like he just has to pop in like he did with Teresa and what was it, Bewitched? No, Phases. I like this moment, but Gage turns to him wondering how he knew that. Angelus informing about the thing that they once had, what he claims was the biggest mistake of his life. And Gage offers this random dude his condolences, turning to walk off as Angelus follows him, claiming Buffy is a real head tripper. Gage agrees, and I love this clever dialogue because he's like, girl acts like she's God's gift or something. And Angelus replies, who does she think she is, the chosen one? And I'm like, so fucking funny. I'm like, exactly, because that's what she is. But it's funny because he's like, I don't know, he did that because he's like, oh, you're a normal human, I know you don't know about Buffy being the Slayer. Exactly. Let me make a crack, because once again, like Jonathan, I'm gonna get my moment. Like, I'm like, come on, Angelus, so corny. But Gage thinks so as well. Angelus offering someone really needs to take her down on her notches. Gage turning to ask if he has someone in mind, but Angelus has disappeared. But we hear his voice call out, "You're lucky, my friend." And Gage turns back to find vamped out Angelus, who snarks, "Just so happens I'm recruiting." And he grabs Gage, biting his neck. I had to write my notes because I've seen this episode way too many times to not have noticed that the fact that Angel says, "I'm recruiting," like, I've never paid that attention. And it's the fact that he wasn't just going to feed on Gage. He was going to turn him into a vampire and sire him and then have him go after Buffy. I was like, oh shit. Like, I missed that every other watch. I'm like, how? But that would have been interesting because he already knows that Buffy has this relationship. He did the same thing, as I was saying, with Teresa, and then sent her after. He's like, Angel sends his love. Like, it was going to be another one of those moments because he's too busy being a bullshit fuckboy to fuck around and find out. So he's just sending like lackeys out there to like annoy Buffy once again. Like, you know. But I thought it was interesting because I had never noticed that was exactly what he said until I had to type it out. I was like, well, that's interesting. I just always skip it because I'm always worried about, like, when's Buffy coming out with that chopstick? Like, for some gay man, I'm ready to watch Sarah Michelle Gellar take her hair down and swoosh it around. But it's her cue because Buffy comes out of the Bronze, still trying to keep an eye on Gage, and hears his screams, which consist of Buffy help. Oh, so now you're crying out for Buffy. Okay. She runs towards him as Angelus drops Gage mid-drink, spitting out his blood and displeased with its taste. Buffy appears before him, roundhouse kicking him, and he's still spitting out blood and looking to her as she takes her wooden hairpin down from her hair in the most glamorous move I've ever seen Buffy do. Had it in my notes, even though we've already like all came to it 4 times this podcast. She whips her hair down and he just goes,
"Boy, Miss Summers, beautiful."
And I really like the way that he says it personally. I kind of like, even though you're an evil bastard, like I kind of still went bashful for a moment. I was like, I want him to say that because, you know, he still likes Buffy. Obviously, he's been obsessed with her. Yeah. The stuff that he's been doing in Passion. We've talked about it in our past episodes. He's still just as obsessed with Buffy as Willow made a comment on. And all he thinks about is her. So the fact that he's making this comment, you know, he's totally still attracted to her. If she was a vampire, he'd be beating that shit up every fucking night. And he wouldn't be like, there ain't no soul to lose now, just this nut in you. Like... Either way. All right, I'm done getting orgasmic over Sarah Michelle Gellar, except till next episode. Picking up Gage, and he tosses him over to Buffy, knocking them both down as he continues to spit, backing away, making his escape. Gage stands holding his neck, asking Buffy if that was the thing that killed Cameron. Buffy claiming no, that was something else.
Which I love.
Because they have a lot of something else's in this town. She goes to leave and he follows her, asking her to walk him home, and she nods for him to come along. And I love this too because like 2 seconds ago he's like, yeah, I'm all on board with you, I can't fucking stand that Buffy bitch, and then he's putting his hands in his pockets and he's like, can you please walk me home? Like, he's giving that Xander energy when Cordelia called him out. I'm like, but I also love it because it's a moment like I said, we don't really get much resolve, but now we've got a kind of boy like learning just through evidence-based practice that Buffy is about her shit and this bitch just protected you. So you might want to actually get in line with her so that way you don't end up getting eaten in an alley somewhere in this random ass town, because she just told you there are a lot of something else's in this town. So you might want to like always be checking your P's and Q's. The next day at school, we see the swimmers practicing in the pool as Willow, Buffy, and Cordy sit in the bleachers among several other students watching. Gage stopping mid-stroke to wave over at Buffy because now he's hella pleased with her presence. I actually like that moment too, because it's like you almost would assume that he's maybe possibly liking her more than a friend because of this interaction. He's not just like, oh, hey, my new friend. I got the vibe of like he might actually be interested in Buffy now. Like if he had like stayed on the show differently, he might have actually been like not a love interest through her the storyline, but he might have had a weird crush on her because it's the way he geeks at her, and she looks at him and she's like, hey, confused by this. She's like, why are you waving at me? Like the fuck, we ain't friends now. The coach hollers at him to focus, and Cordy questions Buffy about Angel spitting out Gage's blood because that's clearly what they were discussing. Buffy informing maybe there was something in his blood that he didn't like, aka like the steroids. They agree that this adds up, and maybe whatever is in their blood is attracting the monsters. Zippo on the research too, because the gang have found no matches to the creature's prescription. I'm over here talking about some damn steroid drugs. Prescription. The creature's description that Xander gave, getting distracted by something as we pan over to a pair of wet legs belonging to a male swimmer having gotten out of the pool, panning up those legs, up his body, revealing a pretty attractive body in a red Speedo, because let's face it, his body looks pretty good. And then you realize who it is, and you're like, fuck. Making it all the way up to his body to see that this guy is
Xander?
Love this moment. Like, Courtney, did you know that was going to be Xander?
Mm-mm.
No? Were you like, what the fuck?
I feel like I kind of did when we started kind of going up, and I was like, but no, because I kept trying to tell myself, like, no, like they're not going to put him in the swim team. Like, what good would he be? You know what I mean? So I was like, no, it's not. So I wasn't like completely surprised, but I was more surprised after I saw his full like physique, because I didn't expect Xander to look like that. So I was like, oh, it is Xander.
Yeah, and he's like all wet and dripping too, so that's like I was low-key like fanning myself a little bit when I was younger, because like anytime some semi-nude boy came on the screen, I was like yeah for him. But like I thought it was funny because the last time that we saw him was just like in his underwear whenever he lost all his clothes in Nightmares. And he was a little bit more filled out. He had some like muscle tone and stuff, but he wasn't like, and I don't want to spoil anything, but like Xander is a little bit heavier set in the later seasons, like for like a season or so, and I wouldn't say like that in a bad way, but he just has more weight on him versus his metabolism was really kicked up when he was 17, 18 years old. Even though I'm like aging him like he's 30 in the fucking show, like they do with every Buffy character. By the time we get after season 4 or 5, like every character is now 27 when they're really 22 or 37, whatever. But I thought it was interesting. I still need you to low-key, did you draw the picture of Xander in the underwear like you joked about forever ago? Because
I'm in the middle of drawing. I've drawn the shot of the crutch, I guess. And then I'm gonna do another drawing, but it's Giles. Which is, I still want that to be what happened. Giles should have joined the swim team. He could have literally been like, how you doing, fellow kids?
Oh my god, I fucking love it. But also the comment though, because like Giles does not need to be hanging out with these kids and wearing the Speedo. It makes me laugh though, because like back whenever I first asked you to come do the episode with me, you said go fish. You were like, maybe I'll draw a picture of Xander in his underwear, and it'll be the only Xander picture I ever draw.
Yeah, I can't bring myself to draw Xander. I can't.
I still like laugh at the fact that you chose this fucking episode. I'm like, you have a whole like we were still in season 1, and I was like, you can choose anything out of all 22 episodes except for the last one, and you were like, go fish, that's mine.
Yeah, well, that's my MO. I'm gonna pick go fish, be bad, just the great.
Oh my god. Okay, well now we know what episode you're coming on for next. But now Courtney doesn't know exactly what that is. She's just gonna ignore that. You didn't hear anything.
Ignore that.
He hears them and quickly grabs a boogie board to cover up his wet dick print and approaches them. Courtney wondering what the fuck he's doing there, and he's apparently undercover. Buffy laughing with Willow and sarcasm.
Not under much.
The way she says it, I'm like, oh, fuck. And Cordy is like, you need to get the fuck out of here before someone sees you impersonating a swim member. And he claims that he isn't because he tried out for the team and he made it. I love it because he's like, I'm not impersonating anything. Like, I actually did this. And I'm like, what the fuck? Good job. Like I said, I gave him his praise earlier, but she smirks quite pleasingly with a really, him informing now he can keep an eye on Gage and the guys when Buffy can't. Willow being like, when you're nude. That's just so funny too, because it's just like in the same beat of it. Like, he's like, I can be there, and then she's like, when you're naked, and I'm like, this comment at the same time, like, don't be doing this, Willow, because we're already over this. Where's Oz this episode? You know what I mean? Like, we didn't see Oz at all. Like, where is Oz? But like, because you have a boyfriend, but at the same time, like the fact that she still gets all giddy in this moment, she's like, when you're naked, like you can tell she still thinks about it in that way. She would be very pleased to see him like completely naked. And I'm like, Willow, come on now. This is the moment where I'm like, you're just as bad as Xander, honestly. I can't hate on Xander if I'm not going to hate on you too. You know, the coach hollers out, Xander can flirt on his own time. He needs to get back to it. And he walks off to join his team members as Cordy gawks, smiling proudly, stating, I'm dating a member of the Sunnydale High swim team. Buffy adding, you can die happy. We see Xander putting on his goggles and getting ready to like jump back in the water. And Buffy asking Willow, what about Jonathan and his potential involvement? Willow telling her no, that he just peed in the pool. And Buffy's like, oh, the three of them looking over at Xander immediately jumping in the pool and their faces growing disgusted. And that shit's so funny because it's a perfect execution of this scene in the dialogue, because the second that they're bringing it back to Jonathan and what he had said earlier, like it's paired with Xander literally hopping in the pool. And Xander, of all the characters, like we've forgotten at this point that whole fact. We're watching the swim team Gage wave in the water, all that. We're not thinking, oh, you're swimming in piss, but then they have to bring it back up so that way we can have this moment and all the girls can be like, ugh.
Funny. Nicholas Brendan was like, oh, I'm just gonna make myself look like a complete twat when I jump into this pool. And he did a good job.
I wonder if he had that direction. They're like, can you do this? And he's like, I got you. Or he just did it and they're like, all right, I guess that's our take, is that Xander.
Yeah, he tried to do it properly and they were like, cut. Done.
They're like, you need to do that again. Later in the steam room, Xander's chilling in there with his team, talking way too much for his team's liking as we see the monster's hand outside the room coming up into the school from the grades. Outside in the halls, Buffy is waiting for Gage. Xander comes out dressed and done telling her that he will be out in a moment. But no, he won't, because he starts smelling that foul smell again, and it's not him. I love it because he's like sniffing his pits and shit. And I'm like, bro, if you think your pits smell like that after swimming in a pool / taking a shower and like being in the steam room, like I don't really understand the track pattern there, but typical. He follows the smell and he screams out as we see Buffy run in after him. Gage continuing to scream as we see the monsters. The way I say monsters sometimes. Sometimes it's monsters and sometimes I say monsters like it's a cheese. We see the monsters before him and Buffy pushes him back, taking a look at it, and Gage has fallen to the floor in pain. Buffy looking to him to watch him rip his shirt off, then tear into his own chest, pulling off his skin while crying out, mutating into one of the monsters himself, and dropping his skin off fully formed. Fucking shit's cringy. I'd really like the effect though. I might have it in my fun facts. If so, I'm gonna burn it right now. The piece that they made for him to rip his skin open, obviously, like I said, he's a green actor, so whenever they told him, they're like, hey, we only made one of these, so you got to literally do this the first take and get it. Like, we can't really redo this scene, or we're gonna have people in the prop room, you know, making that fake skin again for you to pull off your shit. And he already had like the plate underneath him that was supposed to be like the monster skin and stuff too. So he felt a lot of pressure, but obviously he nailed the take and it was pretty cool. And it's the first time I don't feel like we ever see skin peeling off in this way again. I'll put it that way. But like to see someone actually like ripping their skin off of them was just like, it's horrid. I'm like, ugh. And then you're freaking out. You're wondering what's happening. You almost feel like you got this itch. I feel like I'm doing it on myself. Y'all can see me, but like just peeling it away. Like you're trying to scratch your skin. Like Xander's like itching at his neck later. Like what if he started had a flaking up and there was like scales or some shit? I don't know, but really cool practical effect in my opinion. And then also the fact like his hand comes up to, and that was the other part, not just the chest piece, where his hand actually like comes out with the claw and all that stuff. And there's that like weird residue, like that filmy, viscousy, weird shit that's all over it. I'm just like, I want to know what they caked all over his hand to make it like do that when it's slothed off like that. Really cool effect. But now fucking Gage is one of these monsters and we know what's happening. So Courtney, like, were you like, all right, great, everything, all the pieces are puzzled together?
Yes, obviously. Well, not all the pieces, because I didn't know like what the fucking culprit was still at this point,
Right.
you know? So at least there was that mystery to still solve. But yeah, I was getting closer to the point, obviously.
Buffy wigs out as they swing at her, caught in the middle of them, but too bad for them, they are up against the Slayer, who deals some kicks to them, attempting to fight them off, one biting her in the process. The coach running in as the two escape down the grates, taking Buffy down to the nurse's room. Like, finally, we're seeing the nurse like actually do some action again. 2 times in one episode, not bad. She bandages Buffy up. Giles in there with her telling her, the coach, the good news being that his team didn't actually die. Bad news, though, they're just monsters. The coach playing confused to how this occurred. In Willow's class, her, Buffy, and Xander check the boys' records, and all of them are invalid, and they note that they've had side effects on record from steroid abuse, and they think that something else was in the mix, but they were definitely drugged because they're seeing that kind of consistency. Buffy thinking the nurse knew. Buffy's suggesting also that Xander find out what he can about what the guys are taking. Meanwhile, her and Giles are going fishing with the trank gun. In some cutscene transition magic, we pan down into the sewers looking for monsters with Buffy and Giles, which is really interesting because we haven't really seen them in the sewers, I don't think, before. I know we've seen like Buffy escape with Angel under the sewers, and we've seen cutscenes with like vampires in sewers like Tector and Lyle and whatnot, but we haven't seen Buffy and Giles, or Buffy just really physically herself down in the sewers. So I'll put a note because we come to see her in the sewers quite a lot in the future. That's not a spoiler, but you know. And they don't find any fish monsters down there, but one of them is lingering behind them out of sight. Back at the school, Xander is in the steam room with the team, again being a yapper, but this time more intentionally, bringing up his supplement usage and nutrition intake. He's like, yeah, I like bananas, raspberry smoothies and all this and that, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, by the way, do you guys have the fucking steroids? Where's the fucking drugs? I need the enhancements. That shit was funny. Like, it's not how he does it, but you know what I mean? He's just like, he's trying to slip it in there, and he's like, so tell me what the what is. And they're like, what, bruh? And they're like, he's like, the fucking steroids, man. I know y'all do it. I'm like, oh, he doesn't go about anything. It's like Buffy with her shit. He just doesn't nail it and execute it super well. He should have just been like, hey, do you guys happen to take steroids? I'm also interested. And they would have been like, yeah, we got you, bro. It would have just been that simple with these cut dry cis males. It's easy. Or at least I would assume. I don't know. I stopped taking mine a long time ago. The guy from A Walk to Remember telling him, bruh, no one's carrying, you're breathing it in. It's the aromatherapy. It's in the steam room. And I was like, I'm about to suggest this to my clients for their next aromatherapy massage add-on. I'll call it the Go Fish add-on. Be like, do you want to turn into a fish monster? Here's some lavender, sandalwood, and oh yeah, some whatever the fucking concoction this is through aromatherapy that causes you to become a monster. Did you say you want to be a good swimmer? I got you, Carol.
Yeah, like what's in it? Is it like fish hormone and like I don't understand.
That's a different way to take fish oil. I know they say fish oil is good for you, but I don't think this one is. It's good for your hair, skin, and nails, but I don't think it's good for your skin, your hair, or your nails. They lied. It's the FDA unapproved. Back at the pool, the nurse is following the coach, bitching at him about how he needs to quit this shit because of what's happening to these poor children. Him saying that's nonsense. He just needs to adjust the mix. The nurse wants him to stop still, him inferring that they're going to be the best, and he's seeing to that. Her following him into the back room and saying that he's already lost 3. Him saying that they aren't lost, slinging her into the open grate and down into the water-filled sewage drop. Her wigging out, asking what the fuck is he doing. Him saying his team's got to eat as we see the monsters attack her, pulling her under the water. And I was like, oh shit. And this actress, y'all, she did not do this well. This bitch plugs her nose before going under the water and pulls herself down. This woman just acts so badly. Like, she does everything else good when she's talking and like, you know, confiding in this guy. She's like, you should stop doing this. That's pretty convincing. But her going into this water was not convincing for me at all, because I've never paid attention. I knew she got pulled under, but I was just like, the fact that they didn't catch that whenever we got to do another take. You grabbed your nose. Like, girl, do it for the bit. Go under. If you get water all up your nose, the worst you're going to come up is sneezing a few times and cough. You might get a little pneumonia.
You know, in full well, the water's probably only like 5 feet deep. Stand
like, you just have to fall down or something. Like, I don't know. She just did not do it.
I thought the coach was kind of bad as well. Like, he did everything but twirl like a villain mustache.
Yeah. He's like, this is my one and only. I don't know if he's on anything else, because like I said, I didn't put anything but Wentworth Miller in the credits for special guest stars, but this is the one and only time we see. And it's a different coach every time. I guess this is just the coach for the swim team, but you would think the coach would be like also the coach at the school that like maybe does the gymnastics, but like teaches gym class and things like that. Yeah. And it's a woman that we saw earlier, and it was a man the last time. And this isn't the same guy from the pack that had them playing dodgeball either. Like, it would have been nice if we got him back.
He only shows up for swim.
I don't fucking know, but that shit was awful. Once again, I just say commit to the bit, because I'm gonna get water all up my nose if I'm getting paid, you know, $2,000 to be on an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yes.
The one time and getting killed. In the library, Xander is pacing, freaking out after telling Giles about the info that he gained, worried about himself because he has been breathing in all this shit 3 times the fish guy. What is he going to do? What about Cordelia, though? Because it's one thing to be dating the lame, unpopular guy, but another entirely to be dating the creature from the Blue Lagoon. But she means Black Lagoon. And I love this because, once again, Cordelia is making the shit like complete opposite of what it needs to be about. So superficial. Buffy suggests that they get the swim team and lock them up before they turn also. Giles saying that they need to figure out what's in the mix so that way they can get the hospital to make an antidote. And I'm like, what do you do when you go to the hospital? Like, take this to them and be like, hey, so we got people in town turning into fish monsters, and the doctors that were there with the blood packages collecting the blood back in the day, they were like, oh yeah, we know about monsters, we can help you guys. Like, I don't really know what's going on there.
Question marks about what goes on in Sunnydale, where you're kind of like, what?
I always need to know the answers, like, because I'm just like, how do you get this? Because they do that exact same thing. We found out later in the episode that they actually have a cure, and Xander's like going to the doctor to take it. But like, how do you what? Like, no one. I can't say it, but like, we keep referencing season 4, but no wonder. Like, once we get there, we get there. But like, people know so much more in this town than they know. I mean, we just learned last episode about Snyder and the rest of the town knowing that they're on a Hellmouth and all this other stuff. So like, does the hospital also kind of know that this stuff is going on? When people come in with neck bites, they're like, God damn it, another fucking vampire. Like, now we got to find out what this bitch's blood type is and hope that vampire people aren't stealing it. Like, whole thing. Willow's saying that she could talk to Nurse Greenlee and Buffy can go talk with the coach, which we flash over to her following him in the back rooms, him saying that she has an imagination. We would assume she already has staked her claims against him, being, you know, that this is a mess and all that other shit's going down. And you're not wrong, Buffy, even if he's denying it. She asks blatantly, what's in the steam, and realizes he's caught. And he tells her a history lesson about fish DNA experiments on ex-military men. He goes like all technical with that shit too.
I went cross-eyed when he was talking about. I was like, what is that?
Literally, I was like, ugh. And then he gasses himself up. He's like, they couldn't crack it, but I did. And he's like, I wanted to make my team the best. And once again, he's like, for the win, all that other bullshit. And he's had enough of Buffy's banter and draws out a fucking gun on her. And I'm like, damn, here go another one of Darla's guns. Like, another damn person in Sunnydale's done found her damn locker cabinet at the police station or wherever the hell she kept it. And damn underground shit by the blood pool. And then he like tells her to get in the hole in the floor. And like, bro, like, Buffy, I don't understand why she didn't just like pull out Slayer moves and kick the gun from his hand and then pop his ass down there immediately. But I guess if you got a gun pulled on you and you're a good 6 feet away, like, maybe you want to kind of be on the edge a little bit. But she listens to him and she jumps down there, and then she sees the nurse's dead, mangled body floating around down there. The coach smirking, commenting about his care for his boys, and Buffy questioning. She's like, what, you're just gonna feed me to him? And he's like, oh no, they've already ate, but boys have other needs.
Right.
What? I know she makes her comment in a minute, but like, the fact that he popped them down there for them to have sex with her, like, why is that even in the episode? Why is that even in here? I mean, it makes sense with everything else we've been dealing with and how everybody's like, you know, girls do this, girls do that. Now, like, she's gonna have this reputation for like, you know, fucking the whole swim team and shit. But like, are they gonna kill her afterwards? Or are they just gonna be like, and like help her back up afterwards? Or like, what's gonna happen?
It kind of fits thematically with some of the other stuff in it, but it's also kind of odd because they're not boys now. They're fishes. So it's like, yeah. I don't know. Weird.
Well, my first question too, and it may be like too dark of a thought to instantly have, but I was like, is she gonna survive that?
Y'all know what a dolphin's penis looks like?
Doesn't
when they is it serrated? Like, I want to know what now I need to know what their dicks look like. I need to know what the fish monster penis looks like. And does it smell fishy? Gives a whole new meaning to that bitch is smelling fishy.
Caviar.
Robbie, can you draw us a picture of what you think the fish monster's penis looks like?
Oh Lord, I could draw.
You can just send it to us privately. No. I need to know. It's for my you know, some
it's
people
for
watch like
our
anime.
Eyes only.
I'm just kidding. I don't.
I'm gonna start an OnlyFish account.
An
OnlyFish. People are gonna be like, "What the fuck is this shit we're looking at?" And be like, "It's a swim team." He's gonna have all the pictures of the guys in the Sunnydale high outfits, and then when they take them off, there's like the monster. Crazy. Okay, well, since we're talking about water, let's go back over to the pool where Cordy and Xander are looking for the swim team guys, but supposing Willow has already rounded them up because none of them are in sight. Xander is over here crack-heading his fucking like neck because he's like fiending. He's like doing that fucking, I don't know who is it Dave Chappelle that does like the itch, and he's like, got any more like drugs and shit? Like that's what Xander's doing. He's like a crackhead fiending, like scratching their arm and shit. And I love how Cordy is like, bruh, quit, you're gonna like fuck your skin up. And he's like commenting on it, and then she's like, well, look at what you're doing, like, you dumbass, you need some lotion at this point. He needs some antihistamine spray. And then he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna go check in the mirror for scales, and he leaves Cordelia. Moments later, she hears the door open back up as she's made her way kind of around the pool, and she assumes it's Xander when a fucking fish monster jumps in the pool and just starts swimming. Like, he's just like, all right, I'm a monster now, I'm gonna go get in the pool, I gotta get in the water, gotta take a dip. While this motherfucker is swimming, we get that whole like monologue that Cordelia goes down.
It's me, Cordelia. I know you can't answer me, but God, this is all my fault. You joined the swim team to impress me. You were so courageous. And you looked really hot in those Speedos. And I want you to know that I still care about you, no matter what you look like. And we can still date. Or not. I mean, I understand if you want to see other fish. I'll do everything I can to make your quality of life better. Whether that means little bath toys or whatever.
Xander comes up beside her and he's like, bitch, that's not me. And she's like, oh, wait, what the fuck? Like, I just wasted all these words. And he's like, right there. But it's kind of clever how they did that. And then obviously the monster lunges up out of the water and like basically scares them, and they go to run out. But you notice he like submerges right back in the water. He's like, I'm gonna keep swimming. He's like, y'all are bothering me. This is like the one time the whole episode that we get something expansive, like that adds to the storyline. And even if it's just between Xander and Cordelia, because in this episode, we get the exploration of them being in a nice place in their relationship. Because obviously Cordelia gets impressed by Xander this episode. And she's like, oh, I'm taking you up a notch in my eyes. I'm like raising the bar for you, because he's impressed her, which was really cool. And it like, I mean, yeah, it's superficial. And she's like, oh my God. Like, but I mean, what person wouldn't be excited that their person's on the swim team or like, you know, playing a sport and stuff? You always hear about that type of stuff in school. But this is like good stuff for Cordelia, because obviously her being who she is, she's like, well, I'm a cheerleader, and now like I've got somebody that has a little bit more cool points, so maybe Harmony and everybody else will stop bitching at me about dating Xander, even though she doesn't care anymore and all that. But I thought it was interesting. And then also the fact that she makes those comments, which is what I like the most, because we get a little bit of like progression in Cordelia's growth, because we don't really get that very often for her. And it's like at an all-time high this season, I feel like. And honestly, ever since, you know, Out of Mind, Out of Sight, we've been getting them and in small dosages. But her comments, like thinking Xander's a fish, it kind of shows a lot. Even though she's being a little bit jokey and it's done for the gag, she meets him with compassion here. And she's like, whether she's fully serious or not, we'll really never know if like she would have actually done what she said. But the fact that she stopped and thought she was sad for Xander having turned into this monster, and she's like, well, I guess I'll still like you, like all that. Normally Cordelia would be like, oh fuck, he's a monster, like I gotta get out of here, like we can't. You know,
I love it
so
when she says, I would understand if you want to see other fish. That's
yeah,
a great line.
Fun puns for everyone.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, we don't get a lot of three-dimensional Cordelia, so this kind of adds a little bit of a layer, because it shows that she actually does, on some level, care about Xander in a deeper way than perhaps it seems.
Mm-hmm. Which is good. In the library, Giles is locking the boys in the book cage, making great use of it, telling them to stay calm. Willow saying everyone's accounted for except Sean, aka the guy from A Walk to Remember. Cordy and Xander coming in, her saying, oh, they found him in the pool, skinless dipping. And here we go with another fucking pun. I'm like, the writers in the show think they're so cute all the time. Them wondering where Buffy is since she's not returned. Over in the water tank, Buffy is commenting to herself,
great. This is just what my reputation needs. That I did it with the entire swim team.
I love it too. I feel like Buffy herself, like whether she's written this way and other people are doing it, I feel like this is exactly how Buffy would talk. Like, because this is what I would say. I'd be like, great. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, making fun of and light of a situation. The monsters start to circle her, and Xander comes in the back room to find the coach, asking where Buffy is, as the monsters start to attack Buffy, and she fends them off. Up above, Xander blocking the coach, reaching for his gun, because he's like, now I'm gonna pop this on another student, like just whip this gun out and shoot some fucking, like, what are you gonna do with these boys' bodies, or him and Buffy's body afterwards? Like, just throw them down there and like expect that no one's ever gonna search?
Yeah.
Well, we know the cops of Sunnydale ain't gonna come looking, so they're gonna be like, TCT.
No, another dead person at Sunnydale High. Oh well.
Shit is crazy. But he does notice that Buffy is below him, and he reaches an arm down, telling Buffy to grab it so he can get her out. Buffy going under the water and using her Slayer strength to lunge up and grab it as he pulls her out. Really cool scene, because she's like smart enough to like go down in the water, get to the floor level, which by the way is only like 3 feet deep. Like, once you see her go under the water, it's not very far. Or 5, I guess. That's what you said. Basically. And she does actually like grab his arm, and he helps get her out. And obviously that takes a struggle moment, because the monsters are like literally grabbing her feet and pulling her the fuck back down. I'm like, ugh. And then once he gets her out, the coach hits Xander and moves to attack Buffy, but she trips him and he falls into the water pit with the monsters. Buffy watching down there as the monsters attack him, pulling him under the water. Buffy retorting,
Those boys really love their coach.
well, they're not hungry, so I guess they don't give a fuck what it is. If it's got mouth and ass, then it's going for it. Super gross, but the fact that they wrote all this in here, I'm just like, it's a little skeezy.
Mm-hmm.
The next day, Buffy sits with the gang in the lounge, Xander telling them about his doctor's appointments, and Willow assuring Giles thinks the treatments for the team will work, Cordy awarding Xander for proving himself to her, and he doesn't have to join the new swim team next year if he doesn't want to. She'd be just as happy with football. Here she go, want to date another Daryl. Giles comes up to tell the gang the monsters are missing. Buffy saying she doesn't think that they'll be seeing them anymore. Giles asking where she thinks that they will go. Buffy just replying, home. As we flash over to the beach, seeing the monsters in the ocean swimming off together into their happily ever after. And here endeth the episode.
Imagine being on the beach that day when they're filming that. You'd look over and be like, what the fuck are they filming?
If they didn't quarantine the set out, like those bad passers that are on like the pier, and they're like, what is happening out there? Thankfully they see the film crew, but they're also like, what movie are they making right now?
Yeah.
Like, what is happening? I need to know.
Literally, yeah.
The only thing like I have to say in like closing thoughts is, and I mentioned it earlier, but I wanted to save it to now for this scene. I like how there's no apparent resolve to the thing, as we've talked about, but they don't turn the guys back. They just like go off to live in the ocean, which is interesting. They like release themselves. And I thought it was interesting because like they aren't saved, but they're not really harmed either. But I was also curious. I was like, wondering, I was like, do they, the actual boy themselves, do they die and a demon replaces them? Kind of like how like when a human host gets taken over by a vampire, it, like their conscience and memories and stuff are kind of still there. But like, since this is a pure demon taking form of them, it's like everything out of the like, like has something been hatched within them. It's not a parasite like in Bad Eggs that can get taken off. They're now permanently changed this. So do they lose their soul and now they're the actual kid themselves is dead and it's replaced with this fucking monster? Like, what is happening?
Yeah, like do they remember they were humans or
do they have
and then
thought?
like are the parents looking for the kids? Because like,
parents are just like, geez, Chester.
They're so used to all the kids disappearing. They're just like, oh, I guess it was my kid's turn.
I wrote in my notes, I was like, what are the parents thinking? I was like, I'm gonna need a Courtney conspiracy of what the parents think of all this shit.
They don't think of anything anymore. They're so used to it that they don't care.
Literally,
they just hope to God their kid comes home from school every day.
That's just crazy though, because I mean, obviously that's what makes me think that maybe they still know a little bit, like they have a little bit of a sense, but they also see, hey, there's 4 or 5 other ones of us. Let's like be like a school of fish and actually like go hang out together still, because you know they actually leave and go to the beach together and they're seen swimming off all together. So they meet back up. But do they remember like that one was Dodd and one was Cam and one was Gage, or are they all now like do they communicate? Are they like, bro, like now we just gonna swim all the time, like we can't go for hamburgers anymore?
Do you think they were like,
you know,
damn,
like,
we're stuck being friends forever?
like that's all you got at this point. Now you're going to eat sharks in the ocean or like eat fish out there. Like I don't fucking know. Is that cannibalism if
But
fish are eating other
also,
fish?
did either of you laugh at the way that they were swimming off? Because I'm like, what fucking fish swims like that? Like their heads were going down, but their like feet were going up, and their heads were going out, and their feet were
It
going
was
up. And I was
hilarious.
They were
like,
trying to get
what are they supposed to be? I'm still confused because
Merman.
nothing is making sense. Like if you were the one we saw in the pool had no issue just diving underwater like a normal
and
fucking
swimming
thing.
regular, yeah.
And,
I think because they were
swimming past
fighting the waves. They were wearing those
It
awful
was
outfits.
just weird. It was
Well,
so weird.
And they were
which
probably
is kind of
only
funny
allowed
because
to have one take. And they were like, the waves are going to destroy the outfit we've put on you. So, like,
literally, though.
They're like, go as far under as you can. Do basically almost a handstand, but then come right back up and do it
That's
again.
what I'm saying. For like the actual bit itself, like the people in the costuming, like it had to suck trying to swim into the ocean and get that shot. And that's probably why their feet were trying to do the thumbs up with the toe type shit at the end of the day. I'm like, you never see them again. This is the thing. This is the spoilers I do give Courtney. Like we never see Sheila again. Like, and the few other times we've had characters that I'm just like, this never comes back up. The eggs from Teacher's Pet, it never is a thing again. We never talk about these, thank God, in a way. But
true.
That is it. That's Go Fish.
Episode 1, the fish monsters return.
They're gonna make an appearance in the Buffy remake. That's gonna be like the 3rd episode of the new season when it comes out. They're gonna be like, y'all remember Go Fish? And then
now it's gonna be like Gone Fishing.
I can see Sarah and Leah and Tabby's eyes rolling right now into the back of their heads. They fucking hate this episode.
Yeah, they do.
All right, well, let's get into metaphor really quick. It's super short, but Mark Field had this to say in his book. He was like, this episode helps to serve Buffy's guilt being dealt with finally. The fish monsters are internal. It's not the case of where external monsters devour the boys. It's something that comes from within, aka a metaphorical case of the monster inside of us all. Each boy wrongly blames Buffy, and throughout the episode, the focus is on Buffy's sex life and the presumption that she's promiscuous. At the end, Buffy didn't slay the monsters. They returned home to the sea, which the sea can stand as a metaphor as the or subconscious, and that's what Cameron's description in the episode's beginning reminds us of. Water is the symbol of the unconscious and represents the subconscious mind. Perhaps the way to read the episode is that the swim monsters represent Buffy's blame of herself for the loss of Angel's soul, because we're still dealing with that, by having sex with him. A related similar option is to see the monsters representing Buffy's fear that she was a slut for sleeping with Angel, because she makes the comments about that early episodes, and she was like, was I not good, like all that other stuff. When the monsters returned to the sea, those feelings were metaphorically absorbed back into her subconscious, so she's not actively working with it anymore. And I thought it was funny because Mark wrote that passage out, and then he put in like parentheses, he's like, I'm not even fully sure if this is exactly what the case is. He's like, if anybody else has better thoughts, please write me and let me know, because I can't come up with anything. And he's so good about like doing Buffy metaphor and like at least giving a perspective for things, and a lot of it seems pretty spot on. Like he's got a great brilliant mind, but he said this episode out of all of them stumped him, and I was like, oh shit.
I can see why.
All right, I'm gonna hit you guys with a few fun facts. Spoiler-ish, this is one of the 3 times that we will see the beach on Buffy. Like, we don't really see it very much, but this is one of 3 times. So know that we're going to see the beach 2 more times. Courtney, keep your eye out. The nurse and coach are the 5th and 6th members of the Sunnydale High faculty to die in the course of the series after Miss Calendar. We just keep having teachers fucking get killed because we had that damn bitch that was in last episode that got shot. like, damn. Teachers dropping like flies in season 2. Principal Flutie really kicked off a trend for teachers getting killed in this bitch. The episode was originally intended to be placed before Angel loses his soul. Accordingly, Angel is barely in it because of that. And then finally, Xander's line, in other words, this was no boating accident, is a reference to the film Jaws, in which the quote is uttered after a character examines a dead body on the beach. So it's a direct callback to Jaws, because obviously they're dealing with the ocean and the beach and fish monsters and all that stuff. All right, let's get into our final slays.
Final slays.
Go Fish, final slays. Robbie, do you actually have your final slays? Are you sure? I messaged him earlier. He was like, I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe you can play off of ours. I know you'll have a quote. So let's start there. What's your quote of the episode? You got to have something you liked.
My favorite quote of the episode is when she says, I would understand if you want to go see other fish, just because it's so stupid.
Do you think the monsters are on Plenty of Fish?
Oh,
like, is that their dating website?
If not, someone should get on the dates app.
I'm gonna go make a Plenty of Fish profile and put the monster as my profile picture. And I just want somebody to message me and be like, I like Buffy too. And then I'll be like, go listen to my podcast.
And then you should be like, marry me.
Someone should get the photos of the coach and then go on Grindr or something as the coach.
Oh my God. You know how many hits that would probably get? All these other like non-profiled pictured men would be like, hey, what's up? ASL,
only respond to people with quotes from like stuff that he actually says from the show.
That'd be funny. Maybe I'll do that one night and post pictures online. And people are going to be like, what the fuck? I'm like, yeah, I coach a swim team. And they're going to be like, oh, that's really cool. I'm like, yeah, the guys are, I'm going to say college. So that way I don't, get statutory vibes and all that other stuff, bad stuff coming from me. But I'm going to be like, do you want to see pictures of them? And they're going to be like, yes. And I'm going to send them pictures of the fucking monsters.
Send them a picture of the shot of them swimming in the ocean with their feet up in the air.
No, I'm printing that out and giving that to you for your Christmas present on a big ass blown up canvas. It's going to be a beautiful beach scene, and then you just see them feet.
Knock on the wall and ask the people who own the Airbnb if they have a printer. You can
do it right now and bring it to you. Have a printer. What are you talking about? I'll do it at your house.
But it's a gift from you. Don't print it at my house on my printer paper.
Sorry, I'm just trying to be like Cordelia. Okay, Courtney, what's your quote?
My quote is when Cordelia was like, he was in the pool skinless dipping.
Oh my God.
It's because it's just like his quote. It's just so dumb. Like, what?
I like how y'all both chose Cordelia, literally like almost in the same scene, like sequence, one after the other. Mine, I have two, but I like whenever Gage asks Buffy something else, and then Buffy is like, unfortunately, we have a lot of something else's in this town. I've always liked that quote because it's so true and valid. And then Buffy, whenever she's talking to Wet Xander in the Speedo, and he's saying he's undercover, and she laughs and replies, "You're not under much." I just think Sarah Michelle Gellar nails that line so well, and you really would just believe it. I know we're watching TV and like movies and things like that, but like sometimes this stuff just feels like real life, and that's a real life moment right there. So I really like it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that way he can tail off of us. You go with your Shining Slayer first, because we've had to pick stuff out even whenever we don't really have a Shining Slayer.
Yeah. This week I went with Xander because I feel like he went and joined the swim team, and that was like killing two birds with one stone because he impressed Cordelia, but he was also literally undercover, which is like doing effective work to figure out what the fuck's actually going on here, because obviously the research wasn't proposing like any kind of actual evidence or anything. So that was one reason, but then he also happened to be there like at the end when with the gun and the coach and Buffy and all of that. So I feel like he was there at the right time. He kind of saved the day. And he also was putting in like a really solid effort on trying to figure out what the fuck was going on, including suscepting himself to the, whatever you want to call it, the steam, without even knowing that he was like basically at risk for becoming one of these things. So it goes to Xander for me this week.
Nice. I wrote for everyone because it was like a group effort, and we've done this a couple of times to where we've had everybody pitched in a way and do their part. The monsters were not obviously slayed in the end, but Buffy was looking out for the swim team, so she was like taking it under her wing, like to like make sure she had to put a stop to it, obviously because she's a Slayer. So that's always going to be a no-duh that Buffy can be the spot for Shining Slayer. But I also kind of went with Xander just because he joined the team and was looking out on the sidelines when she couldn't. So it had to be kind of the two of them, and nobody else deserved it, honestly, in my opinion. But like everybody did something. I mean, Willow was jokey about hers, but she did her little part. Cordelia like was there to make laughs and jokes and stuff, but she was also supportive of Xander. So I was like, I don't know, that was a shining moment. So that's kind of why I collectively just said I'm going to give it a group effort in this episode, because you can't be like, well, the monster was defeated by X, or this big thing happened. Like, choose somebody. So
right, yeah.
I'm going to go with two objects. I'm going to go with the chopstick. That chopstick slayed, like, and I hope it's in the Smithsonian. And I'm gonna go with Xander's Speedos or his budgie smugglers.
Nice. Okay. I like that.
That's the first time we've had someone choose objects, right?
And ourselves as well, which opens up a whole new platform. But I'm also, you just triggered a whole thing. I'm now adding for every future episode in the final slays that slayed moment, because I have it in the wrap up episode that we did for season 1 and all the future ones. But I think that needs to be an iconic thing, because there's probably a that slayed moment, whether that be the kill on the vampire or like the outfit or like whatever. So thanks, Robbie. We're coining that slayed moment to you.
Object of the week.
Post-production Brandon here. I noticed that we didn't do the weekly wigs for the final slays, so I'm going to insert here right now my take on what I had down for my weekly wigs, because I think it pretty much sums up what everyone was getting wigged out about. I stated that all the Slack mail comments to Buffy this episode, Cameron in the car advancing on Buffy, Cam and the coach to Buffy in the nurse's room in the beginning, Snyder not believing Buffy, which are we surprised? No, we are not, and finally the coach dropping her down there to have a fish train ran on her. Courtney pretty much agreed with the fact that she didn't like how Buffy was treated in the episode and it was giving her the wigs. Either way, we got really sidetracked with that slayed moment and bypassed over weekly wigs. So here is what I've summed up to be the weekly wigs. All right, well, the last thing we have to do before we close out is Slayret predictions. Obviously, there's not too much to foreshadow because the season's almost over. So as always, we have the next episode, which is a finale of the season. It is 2 parts, part 1, part 2, both entitled the same thing. The episode is called Becoming, part 1 and part 2.
Oh, God. I have no idea where to go with that, to be totally honest with you. Unless, no, that can't happen either. I already know that. No, I don't know. I have no guesses.
What can't happen? Say it.
Well, I wanted to say unless Angel gets killed, but I know that doesn't happen. So I don't know. Unless it does and things are backwards. I have no idea. I'm just confusing myself now. So I don't want to guess.
Oh my God. Well, fucking awesome episodes, I will say, obviously. And I've been hyping them up the whole fucking time. So we get to watch them tomorrow. Robbie will attest that they're fucking beautiful episodes. So
yeah, probably my fave of the whole show. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Same.
Okay, I'm
Same.
excited.
The only one that tops it for me is 522. So can't say name titles in here.
Oh,
season 5 finale.
Yeah, gotcha. So look, my brain sometimes doesn't work. Sorry.
Those are neck and neck. Thanks everyone listening for bearing through our coverage of Go Fish. Hopefully having Robbie as our guest for it reeled you guys in. Do you get it? Okay, great. What do you all think of Go Fish? How many of you truly enjoy this one? Write in and let us know. Robbie, thank you so much for coming along for this one. I know we will have you back on in the future, but until then, where can everyone find you to keep up with you and your awesome life?
On Instagram. What's my Instagram name? Hang on.
One draw over the cuckoo's nest. What you're currently doing season 4 of Buffy on there, right? You're still in the season 4.
Yeah, so this Tuesday coming is I can't say the name, but
can't say episode titles, no, but I couldn't remember. I think you're right in the smack middle.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of season 4. Yeah.
Nice. All right, great. Well, you guys, Courtney, we're here. We made it to the end of season 2. Next week, we start our coverage of Becoming with part 1, and I literally cannot fucking wait. But this is beyond exciting, and Courtney and I are both viewing the episodes tomorrow, back to back. And of course, we will be coming in hot with the reaction videos. I know that you will all be dying to see. I do want to let everyone know ahead of time with this release that we will be gearing up to finish season 2 and get on towards our wrap-up episode. So now's a good time to start writing in all of your thoughts on Buffy season 2, our coverage of the season, and what you enjoyed or didn't enjoy about season 2 of Revamped, so we can feature your comments and perspectives in that recording. All right, everyone, we're out, and we will talk to you guys next week.
Yes. Principal Snyder has asked the faculty to keep the news quiet for now, so as not to unduly upset students.
For students, read swim team.
So we're looking for a beastie.
That eats humans whole, except for the skin.
This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, the skin's the best part.
Any demons with high cholesterol? You're gonna think about that later, mister, and you're gonna laugh.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Buffy on Revamped. Remember to join us next week for a new episode release as we continue our journey through Sunnydale. We also would like to hear from you, so share your thoughts. Discuss with us your perspectives on this or previous week's episodes by following us on Instagram and sending us a DM at revamp_rewatch podcast.
Or by emailing us at revampedrewatchpod@gmail.com. Additionally, we will be choosing one of your messages to shout out in an upcoming episode release. And if you happen to love abandoned places but prefer them vampire-free, check out Echoes of Elsewhere, an urban exploration podcast, where I interview urban explorers about the eerie spaces they uncover, anything from haunted schools, forgotten mansions, and tunnels that probably don't lead to the Hellmouth. From history to mysteries, tips and tricks of the trade, I dive into all things Urbex. Subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Until next time, the Earth is definitely doomed. This podcast is dedicated to the Buffyverse, to its fans, and my sister, Tiffany Dawn Pearson.